Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to the recently retired Jeff, the administrator Peterson, repping Alliance East. Oh, I love how you stepped into the shot. What's good, Jeff? What's good?
Hey, how's it going, Adam?
Great. Not as great as you. You look like the most put together, astute, retired person I've ever met.
It's retired from professional fighting, not retired from life.
That's
working.
life. Yeah. Which
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we can get into it. I love and respect your decision, and it's not because I don't want to see you fight or anything like that, but we live in a time where a lot of fighters can't walk away,
Yeah.
and we just saw with the horrible instance of Diego Sanchez where he literally lost everything: respect, wife, credibility, whatever. And that is a very good story of when you don't go out on your own terms, right?
Yeah.
Or Anderson Silva, right? He wanted to fight again, and Dana says no, and what have you. So basically, by doing it on your own terms, I absolutely love.
Thank you. Yeah. I think with a lot of those guys, it's that they've been fighters for so long, so they identify themselves as, that's all I am. I'm a professional fighter. This is what I do. And they have trouble once they transition, out of gearing up for their own competitions constantly. If they take a step back, they got a year off or a year and a half off, they just start, they start itching. They're like, I don't know what to do with my life. So luckily for me, I have a gym that I coach at all the time. So there's always something for me to do, and always a stable of hungry up and comers that are in need of some work and some coaching. So I'm the transition's not hard for me. It was I don't want to say it was an easy decision, but it's also not a hard decision to choose to focus on my students and up and coming fighters rather than continuing to fully pursue my own fighting endeavors.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say I knew or I told you so, but the last time we spoke, you were in Reno, getting your team ready for an upcoming tournament that they were getting into, and the level of, I would say, enthusiasm, right? Not to say that you were ready to fight yourself,
Yeah.
right? But the joy that came across your face and the way that you sounded, your voice, when you were talking about your students competing, it was different. It was infinitely different. I picked up on it, which I also want to ask you, at what point did you decide where you're like, hey, regardless of how this goes, win, lose or draw, I'm gonna retire, or maybe it's not fun for me anymore doing it, but I have the fun training other people. At what point? Because I caught it the last time we spoke, and I was just like, he is a great coach, all right, but he's gonna be an even greater coach once he decides to hang it up.
Man, it was like an ongoing secret that only a few people close to me knew about. That this has been for a while. Like every single fight, I would be like, man, I think this is my last fight. Like especially when I was fighting at 155.
Yeah.
The weight cuts were just really, really tough. So I'd be towards the end of the fight cutting weight, and I'd be sitting there like in the hot tub, like, this is it. I'm done. I'm not fighting again. I'm done with this. But the fire just, kept burning strong. I'd fight, and I'd be like, all right, this is my last one. Then I'd win, and I'd be like, okay, one more, and every time I thought I was going to be done, I'd start training in the gym. I'd be around my training partners that are getting ready for fights, and I'd be like, man, I'm in my prime right now. I'm still getting better. I want to just keep going. But how would I put it? The juice wasn't worth the squeeze as much.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's hard to say. So I always envisioned myself being in the UFC. That was the goal I set out from the beginning. I was like, you know, before all is said and done, I want to be in the UFC. And that was a goal that I had to put away. I just had to put it away. I said, you know what, maybe I'm not going to get to the UFC. I accomplished a lot. I'm happy with the career I had. I'm not happy I didn't get to go to the UFC, but I'm also okay with it. You know, it's a very small percentage of people in the world that become professional fighters, and it's even tinier percentage that make it into the best fighting league in the world. I just hope transitioning to a coach, it would be my ultimate goal to be able to bring somebody from my gym, from our small gym, to build them up and get them to the UFC would be like, you know, icing on the cake of my martial arts career.
No, 1,000%. And you know, I look at guys like Chad George, right? Who, you know, my
he's good.
yeah, I mean, and got to much
Great
like you,
example.
Bellator and what have you, but maybe didn't get to the UFC, right? As the pantheon, as most people will argue, and but he did a lot. And then, but you see him almost every weekend, either at LFA, Bellator, or, you know, especially during the pandemic, LFA, Bellator, UFC, and you know he's in the mix, you know,
Yep.
and
Yep.
which
He's almost a better. I think I've seen him more of him as a coach than I did when he was a fighter. You know.
yeah, and to
Yeah.
me, he's one of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
Anybody
Yeah.
that doesn't say Chad the Savage George, especially for that weight class, that bantamweight weight class, and even like he could have even went fly, you know. But fly wasn't very prominent during that whole deal. I mean, obviously Jens Pulver had a tough time. You know, Yves Edwards was a champion of a division that wasn't even around. He was the best of the world of
Yep.
division that wasn't even around. So like that does happen. Which you know, I gotta ask, right? Did you feel like, because there's nothing like a fight camp, right? You know, everybody kind of all on you. You're pushing yourself to betterment. You're testing the coaches to their limits in many ways in terms of, you know, irritation, but also, you know, testing of what their coaching abilities can be and what their tutelage, you know, into their player one, that is you, right? You're testing everything. Everything is running optimal
Mm-hmm.
for that 4 to 6 weeks before the fight, right?
Yep.
But did you feel like to get that you had to fight, or you know, because like you can still have all of that and not fight, like,
Yeah.
you know, Ben Jones, you, Chad George, you guys are out doing it as head coaches, former fighters, but you guys are on the mats holding pads every damn day. So
Yeah.
uh, I mean, was it more that you felt like you had to go through the fight camp and the fight just to get that?
There's a satisfaction that comes with pushing yourself to new limits. You know what I mean? To where you're running your sprints faster, your sparring is better, you're doing, you know, you're getting more submissions in jiu-jitsu, you feel
Yeah.
like your cardio is better. It's that reaching those new levels that you haven't hit before it was really the addicting part of a fight camp. You know, it's one thing to just want to push yourself every day, but it's a different thing when you're training for that date, you know, that you have another guy that's trying to take your head off. It just motivates you to push yourself beyond the limits that you have in the past. And that's really the feeling that I was chasing, you know. I like that, pushing myself to the limits and having that end goal in mind. Just now I'm going to be on my fighters' asses and live that exact thing through them. You're like, look, man, you need to push yourself. Let's go. You got a dude that's trying to smash your face in 4 weeks. You need to push yourself to new limits. So let's get it. You know who I'm talking to.
Well,
No.
We're not naming names, but and it's funny because like I think, well, I mean myself included, right? We all live vicariously. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Like
Hmm.
living vicariously. I'm a pretty shit white belt, right? Just because of inconsistency, right? And yes, before it's all said and done, I would love to go attain my purple belt, work hard for a purple belt, and compete in Naga, right? Just so when I'm trying to articulate to an audience of like what a big fight feel and
Yeah.
the pressure or whatever, to go through it, to kind of articulate that to but am I out here trying to be fucking Gordon Ryan or Gaval? No, fuck no. Like,
Yeah.
you know, but I think that living vicarious nature. That's why we all want to do it, right? A
Hmm.
bit of emulation. The what is it? Sincerity. I mean the what is it? I forgot the saying, but it's something to the effect of uh, uh, copying is like the most sincere form of flattery. Something to
Yeah.
that effect, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What's there's a quote I like, at least for martial arts. It's the meaning of life is to find your passion, and the purpose of life is to give it away. That's that's kind of how I feel about my martial arts. I've taken in a lot of different things over the years, and I found the thing that I really love. And now it's now that I'm not going to focus 100% on myself, I can give away all the things that I've learned and try to get my students and my fighters to repeat the success that I've had, and hopefully exceed and go far beyond the success that I've had in my martial arts career.
Well, that's the hope, right? Whether you're a parent or a gym dad, as you are as a head coach, right? Like for every generation to exceed the expectations of the generation before, right? Which,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that you've found your way, because there are many, right, that they fight and maybe it's harder because they can't take that. They love the attention on themselves, and it's not the adulation of the pop culture lexicon or anything like that. Just in the gym, people act different when you're training for a fight. There's an energy that's different, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because they're not getting that, at least maybe in that gym, helping somebody or coaching somebody or whatever, they feel like, oh, this is the only way that I can do it, by fighting. And it's really crazy to me. Sometimes I'll hear people like, I didn't even like fighting. I like the training. I like whatever, but I didn't like fighting. I hated it. That was the worst part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is I can relate to that. It's crazy. There's some times where you'd be in the back ready for the fight, and you're like a hungry dog just waiting to get put in that cage and get that piece of steak. But then there's other times where you're sitting in the back room, and you're like, man, I hope like a power outage happens in the city and the whole building just gets shut down, and nobody can fight. Like, forget this. Why did I do this to myself? But it's that's another area of like fighting psychology. Is you got to learn how to separate your real self from your athletic self.
Well,
Because of course your day-to-day life fighters aren't walking around just like picking fights with everyone. You have natural fears and natural tendencies like any other human being, but on fight day you got to learn to flip the switch and learn how to turn those thoughts off and snap yourself into competition mode.
which I love that you talked about, and I can't thank you enough for speaking of that, because again, the you at times you want people to just think of you as the badass, or in your gym, and won't, not for the lack of a better term, like humble themselves, but like, here we are in the tail end of mental health awareness month. We had a fucking horrendous year last year for the most part, worldwide, right? And wanting it to just like kind of end, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of people don't fucking talk about it. Like I remember there were times when I had a job that I didn't fucking dig so much, and I was just like, I, Phantom Planet, in one of their songs, it was like, I just got here and I already want to leave. and
Yeah.
that can be it. If you're not really into it, and I don't think that part is talked about. I really thank and love that you're talking about that.
Yeah, that's one of the big things I look for in a fighter is their game day, like their gamesmanship on fight day, on competition day. What is their attitude like? Like, are they able to flip that switch? Are they doing things? Are they doing weird things to like compensate for their fear and their nervousness? Are they nervous but they pretend like they aren't, or they say they aren't, or you know what I mean? Are they talking to themselves? They got to pump themselves up.
Hmm.
It's really different from person to person. Every single person is different, but uh, that's like a coach's dream, is the guy that can, or girl that can really flip that switch and just be in the moment, focus on the competition, focus on the task at hand. It's what we call them game day performers. Is
Yeah.
what we call them in the gym. Well, you have those guys that are like they're absolute killers in the gym, but then when they fight they perform down a little bit. It's like they lose like 10% of their edge. And then
Hmm.
there's the other guys that are they're not that great in the gym, or they're just so in the gym, but then when they fight it's like they get like a super booster and they're like 20, 30, 40% better than what they usually show. And as annoying as those people can be, they're also really awesome to be able to coach.
No, 1,000%. And again, that's what I love about the sport so much is there's there's not a rubric. There's not a to B whatever and C you're in the UFC. Like there's
Yep.
so many ways. There's people that are naturally athletic. There are people that aren't. There are people that just in top position. They they feel like 800 pounds, but then their hands are like fucking marshmallows and whatever. But that person could still become a champion with the right coaching. It's there's so many things that make a great mixed martial artists, right? And a
Mhm.
lot of that is probably never even fucking seen to the pop culture like masses. It just you don't see the shit that Anderson Silva did to be great, but you'll play him in a video game or whatever. You
Yep.
you don't know the story, and I just love that. There's no like even like coaching, right? Some people are like, you have to be a fucking world champion to be a fucking good coach or whatever.
Yep.
Well, look at Freddie Roach. Look at Greg Janskin. Like there's
Yep. They
like
just
you
had
don't
the right
necessarily
time.
have. Yeah.
They had some athletes in front of them that they were able to push to new levels. Um, that's what one of my coaches, Carl Gebhardt, shout out to Coach Carl. He was telling me, he's like, well, the the Olympic sprinting coaches can't sprint faster than the sprinters. Like, just remember that. you know, the coaches are coaches for a reason, and it's to get the best out of the athletes and to get them to think about things in a way that they otherwise wouldn't, and to get them to dig deep and find parts of themselves and acknowledge different parts of themselves that they otherwise wouldn't.
No, 1,000%. Which I have to ask, like, do you think, because I think the reason why a lot of our favorite fighters, they maybe stick around way longer than their expiration date, is, do you think because that you found this avenue as coach, this identity as coach, because it's really an identity thing, at least from outside looking in, right?
Mm-hmm.
An identity, like I identify myself as a fighter, therefore I am fighter until I ride this until the wheels fall off, theoretically, right? But the fact that you've gained this new life, and it's something that was always there. You're the administrator. It comes from your military service. And it's something that pervades itself day to day at Alliance East. Is the fact that you had something to kind of fall back on. Like you had
Mm-hmm.
options that still you got your fix, your MMA fix, but not have to do the unwanted things.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have to get punched in the face and beat up until I throw up anymore. Now all the boys can do that.
Yeah, which what in this kind of new, and again, it's not I don't think it's new, right? Because you were coaching as you were fighting, right? But the
Yeah.
fact that you're no longer fighter, you are coach, right? Do you think that there's a bit of you that you get to show yourself a little bit more, not having to work at fighting and kind of keep up this kind of persona, and you could just be coach?
I think more than anything, I'll just be able to be of service to more people. You know what I mean? Uh, I when I'm training for my own fights, I would push a lot of things to the side, and just focus on myself and my recovery. And I was still coaching and whatnot, but it's still not it's not the same when you're coaching, but you're also in the back of your head, you're training yourself. You're like, fuck, man, I'm tired. I wanna I wanna go to sleep right now, or I want to be just sitting around chilling because I'm tired and I trained for 4 hours and got beat up and all that. But it's it leaves me with a lot more ability to be there for other people. Self fighting is a very selfish sport. That's that's just the nature of it. It's when you're preparing to go to combat with somebody, where you sign a death waiver to get in there and throw down. Like, it's a real thing, and it requires just a lot of your being. It's in your head constantly. It's in the back of your mind constantly. And it's hard to even look past that date. When you're training for a fight, you're like, okay, my date is June 30th. Your entire life is leading up to that date, and it's almost hard to see anything beyond that, because realistically, you're not the same after you come out of it too. Every single fight changes you. So when you're looking at that date, you're like, beyond that day, I don't know what things are going to be like yet. So it's nice to be able to broaden my perspective, and just be more physically available and mentally available to all my students and everybody that's close to me.
No, absolutely. Which, all of that, it's intoxicating. It's exciting, right? That whole
Mm-hmm.
deal. And, again, having this date, set faces the sun, hell or high water, we're making it. If I damn have to kill myself, via weight cutting, which, Jesus, that's part of the horror show that is fighting, right?
Yep.
But that's an excitement. But as this new phase of the coach, Jeff Peterson, the coach, what excites you about this kind of new avenue? Because again, you've been doing it before, but now you're kind of streamlined in your efforts and your tasks. Like, this is my team, I'm going to grow it, what have you. What excites you about this new phase of your career?
Well, the competitiveness still burns deep. It's a different competitiveness. I'm like, I want all the guys and gals that are competitors at our gym. I want us to just beat everybody. That's I want to I want our name and our team to be known, and to be feared in the area, feared in the West Coast, and then hopefully feared over the whole U.S. and then over the world. You know, um, now that I can center my focus on my fighters, we can hopefully start to build up our team and really get some momentum going, and make a splash in the MMA world.
No, I love it. I love it. And again, one team, one heart, one mind, that whole thing. And all of you guys and gals are pushing yourselves to greater glory and the proliferation of your team. I think it's incredible. But, going into like that intensity, man, Ben Jones from CSW, good God. Right before any of his fighters fight, and like I've been fortunate enough to be in the locker room and whatever, you wouldn't be hard pressed to think that Ben is actually gonna fucking get in that cage and fight,
Yeah.
or Barnett. Like, it's intense. Like,
Yeah.
holy fuck. Like, and I could be sitting next to him, we're fucking chatting or whatever the fuck, and then like somebody will come like, oh, fighter next and whatever, and there's a switch that fucking changes. And the switch
Yep.
that I'm not really comfortable with. I was like, the fuck, what happened here? And
Yeah.
but it just happens, which that is something that you're gonna experience.
Yeah, that's something we already do. You know, when one of our fighters is fighting, especially like an MMA fight where we're actually going into a cage, I'm like, man, I'm in there with you, dude. Like as we're walking out, I got that 1,000-yard stare too, and I'm mean mugging his opponent and mean mugging his coaches. I'm like, my boy's gonna beat your boy, and then I'm gonna beat up your coach. You know, so like I'm ready to go, man. We This weekend actually we have our first Muay Thai event back in San Diego. Last time I talked to you, we were up in Reno because there just hadn't been an event in Southern California yet. So this is the first one back. The guy who's putting it on, his name's Robert Aldama. He's been like a main staple in the Muay Thai community in San Diego. We've been going to his shows for probably about 6 years now. So it's always an awesome event. Like every single coach that you know from Southern California, and then coming down from LA, it's just a bunch of people in the Muay Thai community. It's all super respectful, but also super competitive. We got 3 guys fighting on that one. All three of them are prospective fighters. You know, they're all great athletes, and hopefully they'll be stepping into the cage soon as well. Yeah, super excited for those guys. Then after that, July 17th, I got Luke Faltersack, the land shark. I was gonna have him make a cameo, but he's not over here. He's fighting in Bentonville, Arkansas for they were called J Street Fights. I think they're called, what are they called now? Oh,
Yeah.
that's what it is. Northwest. Yeah, he said it doesn't matter. He's going there to
kick some ass.
Yeah, put on a country ass whooping.
Yeah.
And come back to California with their hand raised.
Well, you know about J Street Fights, right?
Yeah.
So it was Cali Cage Wars, and then
Yes.
yeah,
Cage Wars is Southern California. We know all about Cage Wars and the chicken coop.
yeah, man. Shout out to the chicken coop, man. Well, a lot of people fucking cut their teeth there. That are
yes. It's a place where a lot of up and comers come through. Then a week after that, we have Epic MMA is back in San Diego at the 4 Point Sheraton, back at the regular stomping ground. So we have Nasty Nate Jarquin. He'll be making his MMA debut. He's been killing it. He's been a guy. He's trained with me for, man, probably 4 years now, 3 or 4 years. But he's just always been a really down to scrap, kind of rough around the edges guy, but just has a great attitude. And ever since signing this fight, he's just been on a whole new mission. We've never seen him, motivated and dedicated like he is right now. And we're just super pumped for him to get in the cage and get to strap on little leather gloves and just be able to throw down until he gets a knockout or finish. So yeah, it'll be a good one. It's always entertaining when Nasty Nate gets in the cage.
Man, I love it. And speaking of love, Christine Cabasa,
Hey, that's
thank
my
you for.
mom.
Hey,
Love you, Mom.
love your mom. Loving this interview. Thank you, Mademoiselle. That means so much. Which you speak of like development, right? What is it as a coach to see, Nasty Nate and the rest of the crew basically, push beyond their boundaries because you've been in there, you've been in the trenches, you know what it's about, and to see them basically transform, to something that maybe they didn't think they could be when they stepped into the gym day one, like on the outside looking in, but also having your kind of tentacles deeply entrenched, like seeing the development of the fighters that have come after you, this next generation. What does it mean to you to be able to help mold and shape that?
It's amazing. I'm thankful that the athletes that I have and the fighters that I have chose to train at Alliance East and chose to let me and my other coaches be their coach. A lot of people could find success no matter where they go. There's those certain athletes and fighters that they could have went to any gym and they would have been good regardless. But I'm just thankful that they chose to stay by me and trust me to guide them on their fighting journey and athletic journey. Yeah, so I'm just super thankful. It's awesome to watch them grow and find their own success in the game.
No, I love it. Hi, Christine.
Hi,
Hey.
Mom, again.
Um, so you talked about like the intensity, right, of signing a death agreement, right? Like
Yeah.
knowing that that could be one of the things, like you could die, versus shaping and cultivating a game plan for this kind of people who have entrusted you with their life. They are willing to be your player one, right,
Yeah.
for your kind of game genie, if you will, in terms of your fight acumen. What is more intense, or how do they compare, or do they not compare? Like you signing your kind of death release and cultivating something for them that hopefully won't have them subjected to death.
Yeah. luckily there's tiers now. There wasn't as many tiers when I was coming up. It was like straight in there, full rules, small gloves. Luckily we get to go, you'll do a grappling tournament, then you'll do a PKB, point kickboxing, where you're wearing full gear, gloves, shin guards, headgear, no knockouts, and then you get to the death waiver after that. That makes it sound really intense, but realistically, in case everybody doesn't know, when you sign an amateur bout agreement, you do waive the possibility of death. So it's it's there. But the guys that I send into the cage or into the ring, I'm fully confident, and they're well aware of what they're getting themselves into at that point. I used to, when I was younger, I would let people that maybe thought they were ready, but I knew weren't ready, I would let them jump in and learn their lesson, learn the hard way. Now I don't really do that anymore. It's like if I don't think somebody's got it or they're not ready, then I'm going to hold them back until I think they are ready, or until they show me that they're ready. The way I put it, it's mean and cut dry now, but I tell my fighters, I say, don't waste my time, man. Don't waste my time signing for a fight, saying that you can do it, and then you don't train for it and you don't put in everything you got. It's a waste of everybody's time if you're gonna be like that. If you wanna get in there and try to be a superstar and fight in the cage, fight in the ring, where you're really trying to knock somebody out or get knocked out, like you better be training your ass off and giving it 110% every single day. Because if you're not, then you're just wasting everybody's time.
Yeah, it's equity, right? It's equity that you're putting on somebody. It's value of your time, value of your effort, your skill set, your experience, all of that. And if you're putting all of that into somebody, the least they can do is to meet you halfway, right? Like,
Yeah.
you would think, all right. But I mean, amateurs, right? Like, crazy things can happen. Like a dog gets sick on the way to the weigh-ins and what have
Yep.
you, and that's weird. Which I gotta ask, right? Um, those things can happen, right? Like, you guys are training adamantly to fight, right? And a call, like something happens and the fight gets called off. Have you had that experience happen to your fighters? And what is your way of like helping them through it? Because it can be a pretty demoralizing thing.
It is. Luckily for myself, and at a professional level, I don't think that it doesn't seem like it happens as much, like pullouts, because we're fighting for money and you're signing a contract that's overseen by the athletic commission. Like there's consequences to just pulling out of a fight. If you pull out of a fight for the wrong reason, or you pull a no-show, like you might get fined by the commission and have your license suspended. Like, I think professional fighters that have been in the game are less likely to pull out even for an injury. Like, I know myself, I'm like, once I buy the plane ticket or I get my plane tickets to my fight, I'm like, well, if I roll my ankle today, I guess I'm gonna train around my ankle for the next 10 days, and then hopefully it'll be good by the time I fight. Where at an amateur level, it's a lot easier to just pull a no-show, or to, you know, back on. It's the week of the fight, and then all of a sudden your boss at your regular job says you got to work this weekend, and you're like, oh man, if I don't do this, then my boss is going to be, you know what, I'm just not going to do this fight. And stuff like that can happen, as well as last minute injuries do happen. It's just it's an unfortunate thing that's part of the game. But as the amateur fighters, I just tell them to, you know, stay focused. There's going to be another one. If you had 4 weeks to get ready for the fight, then the fight falls through. That was 4 weeks that you improved, you know, that was 4 weeks that you got better, 4 weeks you put in work, and 4 more weeks more into your body and into your brain that is going to, you know, you'll be able to show it in the next fight. Luckily, as an amateur, you can take more fights as well. And that's something I encourage with my guys as well. Once you go pro and there's money on the line and the stakes are higher, there's less fights. The fights are few and far between, because every time there's money on the line, they're either bringing you in to fight the main draw, or you are the main draw. So, you know, you gotta get those amateur fights in while you can, because amateur, you can fight every month, especially now that things are opening back up. You have that ability to stay super, super busy in multiple sports. You could do an MMA fight, and the next month do a jiu-jitsu tournament, 2 months later do a Muay Thai fight. You could stay super busy, but that second that you go pro, you're going to see the activity start to get a little wishy-washy. Once money's on the line and ticket sales are on the line, that's when things start getting a little tricky. So that's another thing. I'm looking to help manage all of my guys and help guide them through the sticky, salty, nasty game that is MMA management and matchmaking.
No, 100%. And again, for somebody that is battle tested and has kind of waged the literal and, you know, metaphorical wars that you have with promoters, with, you know, situations or whatever, I think you're uniquely suited, you know, to help them navigate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I managed myself a lot of my career. I got most of my own fights. So I've dealt with a lot of promoters one-on-one, and you know, looked over a lot of my own fight contracts and gotten a lot of my own sponsorships, done stuff like get banners and get shorts made and all that stuff. So it's something right now I help a few guys out with that end of the fight game. But long term, I'd like to be able to officially like manage some guys and just help them navigate. You know, more than anything, I'm a coach first, but dealing with promoters and matchmakers and other managers and stuff, I'm open to that as well.
That's you know, it's making making yourself a little bit more, I don't want to say like accessible, but I mean the fact that you're going to be there, you know, day in and day out and fighting in the trenches for your team. That's just, oh man, that's a really cool, you know, it's a really cool time to be a you know, somebody at Alliance East, is because you have all of Jeff Peterson and all of his experience to kind of draw from, right? And to know what to do versus what not to do, what works. Like it's incredible. And now you talked about that. It can be a dirty game, right? The fight business.
Yeah.
That's it, man. But obviously, you know, training and weight cutting and injuries and everything, it can all be for naught, right? There had to be some cool moments. And of course, the UFC thing didn't happen, but I mean, hell, Bellator. I mean, to a large extent, Bellator in some circles are even better than the UFC in terms of pay scale and what have you. But
Yeah.
do you have like a favorite fight, favorite memory of the fight game while you're fighting? Could be like the lead up to the fight, just joking around in the back. Like when it's all said, I mean, it is kind of theoretically all said and done, but looking back, what is the thing that gave you the most enjoyment, whether it be a moment, a fight, what have you?
Um, I guess I'd still say I can't remember if I said it on your podcast or another one. I forgot, but my favorite fight was against a guy named Doug DeBach. In the third round, I hit him with a flying knee and then a follow-up knee, and it puts him to sleep really good. The reason I like that fight so much is because the dude, he was one of the only guys to like openly trash talk me before the fight, and he was just one of the only people that had ever been like really vocal to me, and it was just the way the fight went was just awesome. I knew his game plan was to take me down, so he tried to take me down, couldn't, and I ended up taking him down, riding him out the whole first round and beating him up, and then I did the same thing in the second round. Almost put him to sleep with a choke, and then there was a little moment where the round ended, and I kind of stood above him because I thought he went to sleep, and then he got up and he like shoved me, and the athletic commission like came in, and he was getting all fired up, and I could hear his corner getting all, they're like, all right, you can't try to take him down anymore. You got to stand with him. Like, okay, that's what the plan was anyways. Then I catch him with a leg kick, and then I hit him with a flying knee, put him to sleep. It was awesome. I liked, man, there's something about when someone gets in your face and is just plain disrespectful to be able to just completely prove them wrong and shut their lights out. And, it was just a great time. It was a great night.
And that's, I mean, talk about making your words soft and sweet, and just in case you have to eat them later. That wasn't something that I think your opponent of that night subscribed to, because he was jaw jacking.
Yeah.
You thought he was out. And this dude, Undertaker, and resurrects and what have you. Like, yeah. You're already getting trounced. Like, what more? That's one of the things that, like, I'm like, when people fight after getting their tail beat, I'm like, why? You already know what happened, right? Fighting, right? You get the green light to fight, and the result happens, right?
Yeah.
And then you want to go fight in the backstage area or out in the parking lot. I'm like, no. How do you think it's going to be any different than what we just saw for 5, 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Simmer down now.
Yeah.
Simmer.
Yeah. That was a good moment in my fight career.
I love that you were like, you got them all the way good, not halfway good. Like, you got him all. You made sure you starched him, and a flying knee, right? I mean, if there's been some spectacular knockouts, but flying knee, we saw Masvidal and Askren or whatever. Flying knee, I mean, in terms of, you're like a damn eagle flying in the damn air, and your knee connects with the person's skull. Holy bejeez. Like, if I don't think there could be a better way to punctuate that kind of rivalry, right?
Yeah. It's even sweeter so it's one thing to go out and just knock somebody out in a minute. It's another thing to completely dominate them first for 2 rounds and then put them out of their misery. It was nice.
Look at the fucking glee on your feet. The glee on your face. You lit up like a Christmas tree. Oh man, he must have been a douche.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. I guess I lucked out, and I didn't have. Maybe it was my aura made it so that people didn't want to talk trash to me, because I'm just always like, pretty stone faced, and I'm just respectful, and I smile sometimes. I don't know why that would be seen as disrespectful, but yeah, I don't know. That dude at the weigh-ins, like, I was doing my regular, shake hands, we're fighting, cool. But he like got in my face and he's like, "You seem like a nice guy. It's too bad I'm gonna have to you up," something like that. And then I was like, "Oh," just smile at him. Okay. Yeah.
That's I don't know, because nowadays, right, people are talking about the Connor effect, right? Or people think that they have to talk smack, to basically get the fights that they want or the notoriety that they want or whatever. Well, Connor, that's a specialized, that is that guy, right? Like,
yeah.
I think it was like Kevin Lee and Michael Chiesa at the same, like, who the fuck is this guy, at the same press conference. They were trying to jaw jack, and it just didn't work out well. You just
Yeah.
whatever you are, you just turn yourself to 10. Like whatever
Yeah.
that is. If you're a nice guy, turn it up to 10. Like
Yeah.
Smiling Sam Alvey is doing just fine smiling.
Yep. Still knock you out.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's one of the things with fighting. Like you gotta be yourself in there, because if you're putting on a front, it it's hard to keep it up, especially once you're actually like taking fire. You know what I mean? Once the pressure's on, and people are calling you out on stuff you're saying or things that you're doing, and it's actually not you. You know, you're forcing it. Like that can mess your performance up.
yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be yourself out there. And me and my team, or at least I try to make my team that way, is that we're respectful, but we're also warriors. You know, I like to be viewed as professionals. When we sign a contract, we show up on weight and we go to work and let our martial arts, let our skills, let our hard work speak for itself. Yeah, you can build a fight, but just, there's no need to be disrespectful or just be extra and say extra things just to get a little bit more attention. If you go out and just have great performances and go on a win streak, that'll speak for itself, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's Christine says I was at that fight and it was awesome. It was an all-out war against Bobby Lee, and everybody loves your smirk smile.
Yeah. Yeah. Bobby Lee fight was actually my next fight after that one. It was my LFA debut. I basically got brought in as the lamb to be sacrificed to the up and coming fighter, which was pretty much the model of my fight career. But like usual, I put on a performance and got the upset win. Yeah, that fight was an all-out war. Like, if you want some back and forth entertainment, that's a good one to watch. Myself versus Bobby Lee. I'm still a huge fan of Bobby Lee. He signed a multi-fight deal with Bellator, and he fought the dude that I fought in Bellator also. So we fought each other, and then we fought a similar opponent. He fought him at 170 when actually he's a 55er. So he's doing his next fight. I think it's tomorrow night. So shout out to Bobby Lee. Go smash that dude, man. Do what you do.
That's Kevin Lee's brother, right?
No, it's not Kevin Lee's brother. No.
And it's not the comedian, right?
No. No.
Yeah.
I don't think Bobby Lee has a nickname. He's the fighter. Bobby Lee's the fighter.
Shout out to Bobby Lee, man.
RFA, Bellator fighter, CFFC champ. Yeah, he's a beast.
Shout out to Bobby Lee, man. I hope he good skill to you, good sir, on tomorrow night's endeavors. And that's Bellator, dude. It's kind of crazy, right? Where there has never been more money, right, in combat sports than there ever has been now, right? Bellator, LFA, UFC, CFFC,
CFFC,
one champion. Like, you could literally like throw a dart and you see like top flight MMA action all the time.
It's all over the place.
Which, you're kind of sending your guys and girls into this kind of world. Are you excited that there's more opportunities for them to ply their trade, both on amateur and professional,
Definitely.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's my mission and my job to try to repeat and exceed the success that I have as a fighter. I want to repeat and exceed that with the fighters that I'm training now. And, I'll just try to have them do it like I did it, except do it better,
No, 100%. And that's the deal. That's the deal. You're right. Now, you don't have to name names, and I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, but we talked about like one of the coolest memories, right? You don't have to name names. You don't have to name promotions. We're not doing that. But was there a less than favorable experience that you had in your fight career that when you look back at it and like, never do I have to do that again?
Man, just a really bad experience. trying to think. I'm like, getting whooped in front of everybody is really the worst experience.
Yeah,
Like regardless of other stuff. Man, yeah, so many goofy like corner things and fight things that have happened. Like there was one, like it was my very, very, very first fight. For whatever reason, they wouldn't let you wrap gauze over your knuckles. Like, so you know how bare knuckle fighters wrap their hands?
Yeah.
Like in bare knuckle FC, it's like this with nothing over the knuckles. It was like that, except then we put on an MMA glove. For whatever reason, I don't know what they were thinking. They wouldn't let us gauze or anything over the knuckles. I ended up like smashing the dude in the head a bunch of times, and my hands got all messed up. It's another good one. Yeah. So in my pro debut, my cornerman, Jacob Fox, shout out to Jacob Fox, helped me learn a lot of wrestling in my early days. In between rounds, he went to do that thing, you know, where like some coaches, they pick your legs up and they like set your legs on their hips so that you can, you know, get the blood flowing.
Yeah.
He went to do that, except I didn't know. So like I was looking at my other cornerman, and then Jake pulls my legs up and the stool tilts and I fall on my back. And then I kicked him. I was like, cause I got mad. He just pulled me off my stool. So I looked at and I kicked him, and I was like, "What are you doing?" You know, I was all fired up from the fight. So, yeah, that was a good moment.
That is so. I mean, theoretically, you pulled guard.
Yeah. Hey, man, don't ever. I'm not a guard puller. He swept me, dude. He swept me.
Swept you.
I didn't pull guard.
I like it. All right. No. Oh well, since you gave one, mine is again crap white belt jiu-jitsu. But I remember I was headed to jiu-jitsu, and I was hungry. I was coming from work and whatever. I was like, let me eat a burrito. Right, and went to the drive-thru, ate a burrito, went to jiu-jitsu. Right. Guess what we were doing? And drilling.
Triangles?
Oh no, neon bellies.
Oh.
So yeah, the sound
you let out a little poop.
might have Chris Farley in Black Sheep's is like, man, think I've got some chocolate pudding in my pants, and they're like, oh well, there's no chocolate pudding. Like, oh, okay. Right on.
Hopefully you wore a black gi or a blue gi that day.
No, because I'm stupid. Because I'm an idiot. So, but I mean, tit for tat, right? You gave me one, so you know, there's one of me, right? It's not my brightest moment. That actually is a moment where I'm like, not bright at all, not bright at all. Yeah. So, in terms of like the feeling of sending, well, actually, scratch that. Just because you're retired from MMA doesn't mean you're not actively still competing. So are you looking to maybe do some point karate or jiu-jitsu tournament? Like we just saw at Gym Crashers 3-on-3 where Ben Jones stepped out of retirement to join Javier and Jacob Rosales on a 3-on-3 jiu-jitsu, almost quintet style deal. Are we going to see, you know, just because you're retired from MMA, does that mean we're never going to see Jeff, the administrator Peterson, compete ever in combat sports?
The most likely thing is jiu-jitsu. I would definitely compete in jiu-jitsu again. I was actually getting ready for a jiu-jitsu competition before my last fight, and the competition just fell through. But that's something I'm still interested in, and I really haven't competed in jiu-jitsu that many times. I've been just always so busy with MMA that I'd do a competition here and there, but yeah, it's more about fighting for me. One day I get a lot of people ask me about this too. I'm like, there's a chance I might get the itch and want to do a bare knuckle fight. I don't know. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Mom. Might do a bare knuckle boxing fight, but 10 grand, 15 grand is really enticing for 3 2-minute rounds. Like, that means I got to spend a total of 8 minutes in that ring. Like, just to get some more stitches on my eyebrows. If I like to use the analogy, if the juice is worth the squeeze, then that's something that I might still do.
No,
But as of right now, mentally, anyways, a competition for me is that's somewhere else. I don't. It's not something I'm feeling right now. I don't feel like I need to train for a fight. I don't feel like I need to test myself anymore. Really, the way I'm going to test myself is through my fighters. I want to be a good coach and just be there for those guys, management wise, head coach wise, helping them cut weight, just helping them on their journeys the best I can.
no, I love it. And you know what? As visually gory as bare knuckle can be, I've had the fortunate instance of talking to fighters, DJs, reporters from there. Jeff Houston, who's the ring announcer, and they've never like I've never heard of a promotion in fight, whether it be boxing, MMA, pro wrestling, treat its talent so good. Like treat them like talents, right? And pay them closer to what the value is
Mm-hmm.
than BKFC. So I was early kind of like not a proponent. I was like, oh, that looks gory, but like people are happy when you see like Chris Lieben, right? To finally get to a point where he's in good sound, like the Chris Lieben that we all know and love,
Yeah.
wasn't in a good way in all of those times that we exalt him for, right? So he gets to come back, married, kids, in a
Yep.
good place in his life, and come
Mm-hmm.
back to big KFC to get that itch and does pretty well.
Yeah.
Those stories, like it's amazing,
Yeah.
the executioner, Joy Beltran, all right?
Yeah.
He's the fucking champ, man. Like and it's no different than like Brandon Vera going over to one and
Yep. Just
wrecking
having a
havoc.
resurgence in their career.
Yeah, and if it's for you, it's for you. And even if you never do it again, you're doing what you kind of set out to do, which is improve your community one by one. Which obviously you're a part of a community that helped raise you. So let's get some shout outs of the way for people that are in your community that have helped you along this kind of journey, both in life and in sport.
Oh man, it's a long list of people.
Go for it. We got some time.
Sum them up. First, I just want to thank my family, all my family members that just been with me through this journey. Martial arts really turned my life around at a certain point, and I think that's why my family was so accepting of me doing such a violent sport. So thank you to my family for sticking by me and cringing through all the moments that I bled and had to fight through adversity, and for supporting me in all my fights, being cage side, and just being there for me. That really meant a lot. Thank you, everybody in my family. I love you guys so much. uh, then, of course, my beautiful fiance, Kimberly Sue. She has been there for me through my fighting career more than anybody has. She's seen all the ups and downs, all the stuff behind the scenes. She controlled my diet for the most part. She still does, but she did all the amazing things behind the scenes that people don't know about, that really kept me together, kept my heart in the game, kept my head in the game. And I couldn't have done it the way I did without her. So thank you, Kimberly Sue. And then of course I just want to thank all my coaches throughout the years. There's not a single coach that I've forgotten about, all the way from Joe Haskamp when I was wrestling in high school. He was a big inspiration to me. Tony Manila, my very, very first boxing coach. Shout out to Tony for just putting me on a good path and being there for me as a teenager when I needed it. Jerry Kachka, the guys from Ordered Chaos, my original MMA team. Those guys, I wouldn't even have found this sport without them. So thank you, gentlemen, all you guys that were a part of Ordered Chaos. You molded me into the crazy fighter that I became. Then man, then it's just a massive list of coaches from there. Everybody in Hybrid Training Center, Hybrid Academy in Virginia Beach, as well as all the other fighters and coaches that were a part of my journey back then. I did most of my amateur career out there. Everyone out there was amazing. Coach Buck Grant, Scott Oates, Harvey Grassi, Pete Yates. You guys are all freaking amazing, and I appreciate everything you did for me early on. Once I came out to California, Team Alliance, Frank Salgado, Coach Day, Daniel Rhodes, Wade Shipp, Casey Ryan, Jeremy Mahone, Kadu Francis. Those guys were Carl Gebhardt, Tony Palafox. Those guys are all just, man, did amazing things for me as a martial artist. They're great coaches. I look up to them. I still look up to them as coaches, and will continue to grow as a martial artist and a coach because of the things and the values you guys showed me. And, I'll see you guys soon at the competitions, and maybe we'll have some friendly competition against each other with our fighters. Then I just, of course, want to thank everybody at Alliance Training Center East. You guys are awesome. Thank you for making this journey what it is, and making Alliance East what it is, and continuing to just support the gym and make it the awesome family that it is. And I'm going to be there to take us to the top.
To the tippy top, man. I love
Take
it.
me to the top.
There it is. I like it. And you tuned up the vocalizers. I love it. But yeah, no, I mean, first and foremost, Jeff, thank you for doing this, but also thank you for the career that you had, the blood, sweat, and tears that you basically spelt for our enjoyment and the betterment of you. It's a fun ride, and I can't wait to see this new kind of endeavor in your life as just the coach, because you're going to be just as fearsome, if not more fearsome, somebody picking on your team. So I think this new kind of avenue, it's going to be great. So just thank you for doing this, and thank you, Christine, for chiming in. Thank you, moms, for chiming in. Thank you, Dane Donovan, for setting this up. And for those who want more of Jeff the Administrator Peterson, as well as Alliance East, well, where can they find you on social media? Even though I might have it in the description, but give them once more because it bears repeating.
My personal is at Jeff the Administrator, one word. Then Alliance East, it's at Alliance MMA East. Or is it Alliance Training Center East? Ooh, I forgot. It's either at Alliance MMA East or at Alliance Training Center East. It's one. It's one or the other.
Don't worry, Jeff. It's in the description. I got you. I got your back, bro. Don't even.
Yeah, catch all the action there. Like I said, we got lots of fights and competitions coming up. So follow my page or Alliance East page. I'm always posting up for these guys and shouting them out. So come join us for the journey.
Hell yes. Again, Jeff, I can't thank you enough for doing this. And then also, thank you guys for joining us here at the According to Woods podcast. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I mean, Jeff, you're subscribed to the podcast, aren't you?
That's right. Click that button, y'all.
Damn right. Be like Jeff the Administrator Peterson. Go ahead and subscribe. And if you don't believe me, believe Jeff. Well, actually, have a great day. But also, here's Zeta Zhang to convince you.
Hey, this is